Welcome to HFY Stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Your one click means the world to me. The weapon's muzzle pressed hard enough into his ribs to hurt. Somewhere beyond the line of armored bodies, a low mechanical hum stopped, and the entire chamber seemed to wait for someone to decide whether he would leave it alive. He kept both hands where everyone could see them. Hours earlier, none of this had existed for Ryan Hale. There had only been his cargo ship, a routine haul through the outer trade lanes, and a warning light that flashed half a second before something struck the hull. The cockpit spun. Ryan hit the side console shoulder first. Metal screamed somewhere behind him. Heat rolled through the cabin as power vanished from half the controls. He remembered reaching for the emergency release. Then nothing. When consciousness returned, cold metal was beneath his back. Something restrained his chest. Ryan opened his eyes and saw a silver-skinned alien leaning over him. A thin, glowing instrument rested near his shoulder. He reacted before he could think. His arms pulled against the restraints, and the alien jerked backward. A device near his collar clicked. "Remain still. Your injury requires treatment." Ryan stared at her. Her eyes were completely dark. Four narrow fingers held the medical tool. Her pale uniform shimmered when she moved. "Where is my ship?" The translator repeated his words in a series of clicks and tones. She did not answer. Instead, she carefully cut away the burned fabric around his left shoulder. Pain snapped through him. Ryan sucked in a breath and looked down. The wound should have been ugly. He remembered striking torn metal during the crash. But the bleeding had nearly stopped. More than that, the damaged skin was visibly pulling together. The medic stopped moving. Ryan knew that expression. Human doctors had worn milder versions of it when he was a child. He healed quickly. Nobody had ever explained why. Small cuts vanished unusually fast. Deeper injuries closed in days instead of weeks. It was rare, inconvenient during medical examinations, and otherwise useless to a cargo pilot. The alien apparently did not consider it harmless. Her tool slipped from her fingers. It struck the floor. She backed away from Ryan and hit a wall control. An alarm shrieked through the room. What did I do? Two armored aliens rushed through separate doors. Both carried weapons. Ryan immediately stopped fighting the restraints. The medic pointed toward his shoulder. Her speech came too quickly for the translator to process cleanly. Severe tissue damage, spontaneous repair, rate impossible. One guard stepped close enough that Ryan could see scratches across his armor. The weapon in his hands rose. "Do not resist. I am tied to a table." The guard did not seem to appreciate the observation. The medic examined Ryan's shoulder again, then spoke a word that the translator repeated clearly. "Queen." Ryan frowned. "You need your queen for a cut." The guards exchanged a look. That frightened him more than the weapons. The restraints released. Ryan tried to stand and nearly collapsed. A guard caught one arm, though not gently, and the other seized his opposite side. They marched him into a curved corridor, washed in blue light. Crew members appeared in doorways as he passed. Some whispered. Others simply stared. Their attention always ended at his shoulder. By the time they reached a set of towering black doors, the wound had already become a narrow red seam. The medic hurried ahead. The doors opened. Ryan was taken into an enormous chamber lined with silent figures. He barely had time to absorb the polished floor, the rows of guards, and the dark platform at the far end before the hands on his arms forced him onward. Only when they stopped did Ryan look up. A towering violet-skinned woman stood before a stone seat. Her glowing eyes moved from his face to his shoulder. The medic bowed. The others followed. Ryan decided copying them was difficult while two guards were holding him upright. The ruler descended one step. Release his arm. The guard loosened his grip enough for Ryan to turn. She studied the wound. How severe was the original damage? The medic approached cautiously. Deep enough that I prepared for extensive repair. The tissue began closing before I could begin proper treatment. How much time has passed? Less than one cycle. A murmur moved through the chamber. The Queen looked directly at Ryan. Does your species normally recover this way? No. The answer came quickly. Ryan saw several aliens stiffen. He continued before they could decide that meant something worse. I heal faster than most humans. I always have. It is not something I control. A figure in dark armor stepped from the crowd. A scar crossed one side of his face. Convenient. The Queen turned. General Draven. He bowed slightly, but his eyes remained on Ryan. One unknown human survives a vessel disaster and demonstrates biological recovery beyond our medicine. We should not accept his explanation without investigation. Ryan looked at him. I was carrying freight. Draven barely acknowledged him. You could carry freight and still be dangerous. Mostly replacement machine parts. A few heads shifted. Ryan could not tell whether anyone found that funny. Draven clearly did not. The medic stepped closer to the Queen. My examination supports his statement that the process is biological. I detected no implanted mechanism and no external medical system. That proves nothing about how the trait was produced, Draven replied. The Queen raised one hand. Perform a complete scan. A medical frame was rolled into the open space. Ryan stood inside it, while thin bands of light moved from his head to his feet. His legs trembled from exhaustion. Symbols appeared on a transparent panel. The medic studied them, then studied them again. The repair is still active. Draven stepped closer. At what rate? Far beyond our documented limits. Ryan watched the medic's fingers move across the display. Clotting occurred almost immediately. Damaged tissue is rebuilding without stimulation. The injury should still require treatment, yet most of it has already repaired itself. A whisper passed through the room. Ryan rubbed his uninjured arm. So everybody is terrified, because my body is good at fixing itself. Draven answered. We are concerned because a body that survives greater damage creates greater military possibilities. Ryan looked at his scorched flight suit. I do not look much like an army. No, Draven said. You look like evidence. The word landed differently. Ryan stopped smiling. The medic turned toward the Queen. If the biological process can ever be understood through cooperation, it could also have medical value. Severe injuries, recovery after surgery, perhaps conditions we cannot currently treat. Or soldiers return to combat faster, Draven cut in. The room divided, without anyone moving. Ryan could feel it. Some faces held fear. Others stared at the medical display, with something closer to wonder. Draven saw both reactions. He moved toward the throne. My Queen, place the human under military authority until we understand what we have found. Ryan's pulse quickened. The Queen remained still. What authority are you requesting? Containment, biological sampling, controlled examination. The medic's head snapped toward him. Ryan felt the last of his humor disappear. You mean experiments? Draven finally looked directly at him. I mean answers. Ryan took one step backward. A guard's weapon touched his ribs. That was the moment the chamber from his blurred first memory became clear. Nobody spoke. The Queen descended the remaining steps. Her robes brushed across the polished floor. She stopped beside Ryan, close enough to see the raw edges of his damaged flight suit. Then she faced Draven. You wish to imprison an injured pilot because his recovery frightens you. I wish to prevent an avoidable strategic disaster. What hostile action has he taken? None yet. Ryan felt the guard behind him shift. The Queen's expression hardened. You are proposing punishment for an act that has not occurred. Draven spread one hand toward Ryan. My Queen, look at him. Our people might spend weeks recovering from comparable damage. He has repaired most of it while standing in this room. If humanity can reproduce that trait, then we have discovered a military advantage capable of changing every conflict in this region. The Queen turned to Ryan. Were you altered for military service? No. Were you sent here deliberately? No. Are you a soldier? Ryan shook his head. I pilot cargo ships, badly apparently. Nobody laughed this time. Draven stepped forward. We have only his word. The Queen faced him again. And you have only suspicion. We cannot protect an empire by waiting for certainty. No, but we can destroy one by allowing fear to become law. The room went completely still. Even the scanner's quiet vibration seemed loud. Draven's hands closed at his sides. If we release him, we may lose our only opportunity to study this ability before his people understand its value. The Queen's voice lowered. Then we lose the opportunity. Draven stared at her. She continued. We will not restrain a crash survivor, cut pieces from him, and call it security. If humans possess medical knowledge worth sharing, we will ask for it. If they possess capabilities that concern us, we will speak to their leaders. We will not introduce ourselves to an unknown species by treating one of its civilians as laboratory property. Ryan's breathing stopped for half a second. The guard behind him lowered his weapon. Draven did not. My Queen, your request is denied. The words echoed through the chamber. Draven remained rigid long enough that several guards glanced toward him. Then he bowed. As you command. The Queen turned toward Ryan. You will remain aboard only until medical personnel confirm that travel is safe. Afterward, you will be returned to your people. A formal request for diplomatic contact will accompany you. Ryan's knees weakened. This time, he did not care whether anyone noticed. Thank you. The Queen glanced at the healing wound. Your body has given my people questions. Questions do not grant us ownership of the person carrying the answers. The medic escorted Ryan away. The same blue corridor waited outside, but the journey back felt different. The guards followed several steps behind. No claws held his arms. No weapon touched his back. When they reached the medical room, Ryan stopped at the doorway. The restraints still lay across the metal table. The medic noticed where he was looking. She removed them. All of them. Only then did Ryan sit. She cleaned the dried blood around his shoulder and passed a scanner over the remaining mark. I frightened you when you woke. Ryan looked at her. You sounded an alarm. I was frightened too. That actually makes me feel slightly better. A faint, translated chirp came from her collar. It might have been laughter. The scan ended. You will recover fully. Ryan rotated his shoulder carefully. The movement hurt, but it worked. The medic placed her unused surgical instrument on the tray beside her. Outside, ordinary footsteps passed through the corridor. No alarms followed them. Ryan stood. The door remained open. A strip of blue light stretched from the corridor across the floor, stopping just beside his boots. He stepped over it, without anyone trying to hold him back.